Hey, what's going on, everybody? Jason here from jasonbrock.com, here with Karla Marie for part two of the much requested follow-up interview with Karla. I know a lot of you guys have been really pumped up to kind of hear what she's been up to lately. So, how you been, Karla?
Oh, I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. It's been a couple months since we talked. Has there been any
Yeah.
kind of new developments in life or business?
Um, yeah, I've been helping a lot more people. I've taken on quite a few coaching clients, and I'm so inspired by these people that are taking massive action to transform their lives, and people have been having really great results. So it's really exciting. It's really fulfilling for me.
Awesome. And I'll have a link to your coaching. I think you said you have a new group opening up in July, right?
I do. Yeah, I have two small groups of 10 people in July.
So you guys better get on that because I know these do
Yeah.
not they do not last long when she offers this. So you guys got to get in and hit that button and get rolling because it's definitely going to help. Because a lot of the people that I coach, kind of we sometimes coach the same people. So I've been getting a lot of good feedback from people saying that they've been getting a lot of good knowledge from your coaching. And you primarily do a lot. It's fiction.
Yeah, it's all fiction,
Okay.
based in the romance niche. And so my coaching, it can be used for any romance category, really. So my clients have been having success with a lot of different romance categories. So I think some people were under the impression that I published only like erotic romance, and that's not true. I publish across several different categories, and some of my clients have had really great successes in publishing completely different things like inspirational romances, Christian romance, clean romance that has no explicit content at all. So it's the strategies I teach can be used throughout the romance category successfully.
What about romantic comedies? You guys have anybody doing those?
Well, it's a subcategory that you can kind of be applied to a lot of books. Like there's a lot like paranormal romances are really popular right now,
Right.
and I mean you have to see humor in like tiger shifter books. I don't see how anyone can like write a tiger shifter book and it not have some humor to it. So I think a lot of things kind of fit into that category. So I think there's a demand.
Do you watch the show Game of Thrones?
No, I don't. I haven't watched it. I've heard, of course, tons about it, but I don't watch it.
So
Do
the
you watch
reason
it?
I'm bringing that up is because as me getting into the romance, doing some books, getting into the shifting stuff,
Right.
learning about that, and then watch Game of Thrones the other night. There's like a shifter sequence in there where a guy harnesses like a wolf and he turns into a wolf. It's pretty cool. So I was like, oh boy, I'm officially into this a lot more than I thought I would get into. But, let me ask you. I got a couple leading questions. I'm going to get to a lot of questions that a lot of my audience has for you. So,
Sure, great.
what's one piece of advice you could give to a complete newbie or just someone getting started in the romance field?
In the romance field, I would say study the niche as much as you can. Really look into the bestseller lists. I think I said this a lot in my first interview, but really get acquainted with what the market wants right now. So look at what's popular, look what's trending. And instead of being like, oh, I have an idea, I'm going to do something completely original that no one's ever thought of, just let go of that, let go of your ego, and go with what the market's telling you is going to be successful. So modeling your books after books that are already successful.
Exactly. Is there any mistakes that you've seen from your coaching that some of your students are making or maybe were making before they started your coaching that you could apply and tell our viewers to maybe not make that mistake?
Yeah, sure. I think that some people make the mistake of not using or not seeing that their time is their greatest asset.
Right.
And so instead of paying $5 to someone on Fiverr, $5 or $10 to have them make a cover, they decide to not spend that money and make their own cover, but take 12 hours to do it.
Yeah.
And that I think it's just like realizing that then you're saying that your time is worth 50 cents an hour by doing that. And so kind of like getting the idea that your time is your greatest asset. And so you have to leverage your time the best you can. And so take that money, invest hiring someone else that specializes in that, have them do it for you so that you can use your time for higher level activities. And in this business, it would be anything to do with marketing. So anything to do with what's making your book visible in the Kindle store.
Yeah, I agree with that. In fact, it's funny because when I first started to get into internet marketing, before Fiverr came about, and really before the Kindle store, I tried to do like the ebook and sell it on the website. And it cost me like to get that ebook cover done like $50 because like there was no Fiverr, so that was like the going rate. But now, like you were saying, you can get a really tremendously done cover for $5.
Yes,
The market is just the competition, is great because people, great designers are on there. So speaking of that, like what tools are you using to stay organized with Kindle and just your day-to-day business?
I'm a big fan of Google Drive. I think I mentioned that to you last time too. So Google Drive is where I have all of my assignments for my writers. I have them in spreadsheets, and each of my writers has a different folder. And so I share the folder with them, and in that folder I have a spreadsheet with their assignments, and then broken down into months. And I give them all of their assignments for the entire month at one time, so they can see what's coming up in the next month, and they can stay organized. I stay organized. I know when their due date is. And so that's been really helpful. And then when they complete something, they just submit it into their folder when they complete their story and their description. So Google Drive has been amazing. Also having VAs. And so when I was starting to get my process really down to a science and getting it down to, I do this on specific days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, here's what I'm doing, then I could take that and I could start to delegate tasks to other people. And I had my manager VA create sort of a manual for his position. So I kind of taught him everything through showing him on Skype. I'm not the most organized person, and so it's a struggle for me, but I taught him through Skype and through email, and showed him how to do various tasks for my business. And then he took what I taught him and he created a manual. So he's doing a great job. But then once he leaves, I will have this manual for
whoever else.
Position. Yeah.
Okay, so one of the questions that a lot of people have been, and this is something for you, is this in this point in your life, like right now, the most successful you've been as far as monetarily?
By far.
Okay.
I made more, this month for sure. June, I will have made more money than I have ever made in a year before.
Wow. That's great.
It's really mind-blowing, and I'm so grateful, and it's incredible because it opens up a whole new world of opportunities and options, and it's pretty cool.
Don't go Hollywood on us, Karla. No. I'm just kidding. So to piggyback off that, like, how do you deal with that? Like, I think a lot of people are struggling with developing that mindset of like abundance. Like, what do they do when they get the money? Like, how are you dealing with like this newfound success as far as money is concerned?
It definitely brings a whole new set of challenges because I don't know, I'm not really that versed in what to do investment wise, or what to do that's best, like most advantageous for taxes and things like that. And so I have an excellent accountant and an excellent lawyer. So those things are really important. And so my accountant, I just had a meeting with him yesterday, and it's great because he has an idea of how to best structure my corporation and how I should best be paid from it. And had really great advice as far as savings go and that kind of thing. And so I'd say, again, another thing, trust the professionals. If you aren't comfortable or really knowledgeable about how to manage your money, then have someone else help you with it. That is what they have specialized in. So it puts me at ease to know my accountant is doing that, and I'm actually going to have him do my bookkeeping services now too. So every month, just take all of my bank statements, all of my Fiverr statements, Amazon statements, all of my receipts, put them in an envelope, give them to his office, and they're going to do all the bookkeeping for me because that's not my strength. And it would make me angry if I had to do that for myself because I don't like dealing with stuff like that. And so I'd rather be spending my time focusing on developing my business then
We talked about that. I mean, Dean, when I did the show, where it's so hard to balance. Like you have kids, you got to be physically fit, and then you want to be a
yeah,
financial expert on top of all this. So it's like you
yeah,
said, leave it to the pros.
totally,
They
totally.
can do it, and they
Yeah.
usually don't charge that much to keep it in line for you.
Yeah, or even if they do charge, they charge something, it's worth it. For me, it's worth it because it's going to ensure that my money is taken care of the way it needs to be taken care of, and it's freeing up that time for me. And also, the peace of mind for me is worth it.
Yeah.
That it's not constantly occupying my mind, being like, oh my gosh, I should be doing something about this and I'm not, or whatever.
Put it in an envelope and give it to the guys, and
Yeah,
take
yeah,
care of
totally.
it. Has your lifestyle changed? I know you've been doing really well for pretty much. I mean, for a while at Kindle, but like, has your lifestyle changed since you've been really hitting it hard this last year?
No, I still live in the same house, and it hasn't changed that much. We did get a second car, but like nothing extravagant, something practical for my family. And the thing that has changed is that I have more freedom, and so I am traveling more with my son, which is really great. We're going to see family more and do that kind of thing, and that's just the way I am. I'm not a person that is drawn to having more stuff. I would rather have more experiences,
Yeah.
and so like we're going next month. We're going. My family and I. We're going to the west coast of British Columbia, and we're renting a beachfront place for a week, and then I'm going to Spain with my family in October. So lots of cool stuff happening, and so I'm really excited about those things. So that's where I like to,
That's where you like to invest, is in experience,
yeah,
is not
in
possessions.
experiences.
Yeah, my buddy
Exactly.
asked me that one time. It's like, dude, I'm not like Liberace with like gold and like I'm,
Me
and we're making money, but it's not like we're billionaires. Like we're just having
No,
private jets. Maybe
exactly. I'm
someday, but
saving. Like I'm saving money too. I
yeah,
want to and invest. Potentially go into doing some real estate investment or something, and I mean, I've had so many different crazy experiences in life. Like for a year and a half, I lived in a school bus in the forest
oh, cool,
in British Columbia.
yeah.
'Cause, like, yeah, I've done a lot of weird things. I was a professional musician for 6 years, traveling all over and stuff. So I haven't had the most conventional life in general. I just now happen to have a little bit more money. So
That's cool. I think a lot of like that's kind of where I was at. I definitely not as musically talented or probably brave enough to live in a. You said in a RV.
I was in a school bus that was converted into like it was gutted and they had put hardwood floors in it. So that was like my bedroom.
Wow.
And then I shared this tiny little A-frame cabin, like that's where the kitchen was. It was on 5 acres in British Columbia on the coast in the forest. It was gorgeous. I walk out my door and walk to waterfalls every day and down to the beach. And it was quite a lifestyle, but completely different from anything that is like within the norm of society.
Yeah, and that's
So
funny. It's probably one of the happiest times of your life too, right? Like
it was
you're.
amazing. My heart, I feel like part of my heart is still there, like that is what feels most like home, like that actual place. So, yeah, it was amazing.
That's what like I like you and D1, because it's like, yeah, we want to make money to support our family and our lifestyle, but like it's ultimately not really always about the money. It's about like following your passions, and if you happen to make a little money along the way, that's good.
Yeah,
So
for me, it's freedom, having freedom.
being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it. So I'm
Like,
gonna jump into some Facebook questions because we've got a bunch. You're
okay,
like
cool.
super popular, so I'm gonna try to narrow some of these down here. Let's see here. Let's see. We talked about reviews. You don't really worry too much about reviews, right? Like that's not a big priority in your business at this point, right?
No, it's I get a handful of reviews for every book. I get the occasional negative review, just like everyone does,
Yeah.
but it doesn't destroy the sales. It's for the romance books, there's such a demand for them that if your book is visible, even if you have a negative review, you'll still do okay. But I do like to have a handful of good reviews too. So,
Right.
yeah.
And Ignacio Blake, really cool name by the way, wants to know. Like, do you worry about tracking your books? Are you really analytical, or are you just like you put them up there and then you let them roll, or are you checking them all the time?
Once a week, I have one of my VAs go in and look through the rankings of all the books, and she reports back to me in a spreadsheet what books are selling worse than 100,000.
Okay.
And at that point, that's when I decide that I want that those books need to be revitalized. And so there's a specific strategy I use to bring those books back to life. But I do check if something's new, like newly selling, and I put it on free promo. In the next day or two, I'll check to see how it's ranking, kind of within that first week after it's been published, and just to see how it's doing. I don't really mess with anything though. I don't really
Yeah.
touch it that much. I just kind of let it do its thing. And again, if things fall, then I revitalize them. But yeah, so I get a report once a week.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a
Yeah.
good tip. I think so many people get caught up in like they're checking their dashboard every 2 minutes, and it's like,
It becomes addictive, like
yeah,
sales, like checking your sales.
yeah,
And admittedly, like I check my sales a few times a day
yeah.
for sure.
You want
But
to know where you're at. You want to see the blue or
yeah,
red line going up and stuff
for
like
sure.
that. But
But
like,
sometimes it gets to the point where it's like, if you're like waking up in the middle of the night and you're like grabbing your phone to check your sales, I don't know, because I've been there. I'm not saying it's like a terrible thing, so I've definitely been there, but you have to, I don't know, sometimes give yourself some space from the work.
yeah, I think if you can, like, if you have a bad day and it doesn't bug you, then go ahead and check it. But like, if you're the type of person that gets like bummed out about getting a bad sales day, then
Yeah,
maybe
for sure.
do it once.
That's a whole nother thing to kind of think about is how emotionally attached you are to the ups and downs of the business,
Yeah,
and to find a place of non-attachment with it where you can kind of stay in that state of objectivity when you look at the sales and understand that this is a business and there are going to be ups and downs. And so if you have a sales day that's worse than usual, not to be like, oh no, it's over, this opportunity is done or whatever.
yeah,
Especially I find people when they've just started publishing and they're seeing kind of like wild swings in their book sales, they sometimes get discouraged. And it's just to be able to know that you're committed to this and this is a long-term sort of thing, and that you shouldn't be too concerned about hourly ups and downs or even daily ups and downs, but look on the longer term.
yeah. I told someone the other day I was doing a coaching call, and I was just like, I'll probably be doing Kindle for the rest of my life, just because like the process is not very hard anymore,
Yeah.
and it's
Hmm.
always going to make a return on investment. Like 95% of the time I put a book out, it might not make it in the first week, but eventually it will.
Yeah.
And so it's just the way I look at it is almost like real estate. Like each house I have is like a little investment property, but it's a book.
Totally.
I don't
Yeah.
have to kick
And
the
the
can down the
ROI on
house.
this is good too, right? Like the return on investment ends up being quite good for Kindle. Like especially if you have a really solid strategy. I mean, you have to put up, I mean, for me, I'm putting $100 basically into each book
Yeah.
for having it written, having the cover made, getting a handful of reviews, like having my VA help me get those reviews.
Hmm.
And then I'm earning that within the first month generally.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's all residual, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the way I go about it. And then he wants to know, like, do you maintain like long-term relationships with your writers, or do you kind of churn them out?
Yeah, no, I go for the long-term relationship. The writers I have now, I've worked with for months. I just hired a couple of new ones who hopefully I will be with for a long time as well. I prefer that. I like having this relationship where they know what to expect from me. I know what to expect from them. I have them in the system where they get their assignments for the whole month, and I
Hmm.
think they really appreciate that. And I give my writers bonuses. Like I just, at the beginning of June, I gave them all a $50 bonus. And it just was kind of out of the blue, and they totally appreciate it. Like
Yeah.
it's a big deal for people if they get something that is just kind of affirming that they're appreciated, and it keeps them loyal.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. Like, always, to me, like, not having to explain that process over to the writers. I hired a new writer here recently, and she's doing really good, but, like, I have to, like, remind myself I haven't been working with her for 6 months. Like, I have been,
Right.
so I can just tell the people I've been working with, hey, you already know what to do.
Yeah.
So let's see. Dan Brandenburg says, are you concerned about the market being saturated, and what's your 2-year prediction of the romance market?
That's a good question because I ask myself that a lot, and I talk about that to people a lot. And I still think that there is room for substantial growth with this. People are just a lot of people are just starting to realize what ebooks are,
Yeah.
that you can read online, and that, and romance is just growing all the time too, with the popularity of, I think we talked about this before, but 50 Shades of Grey and books like that. Like the new 50 Shades of Grey book, the new part of that series is #1 right now in the whole Kindle store. It's called Grey. I think it's from the perspective of the man in the story or something. I'm not sure. Anyhow, obviously that author is like, wow, I have something killer here. I have to keep taking advantage of this. And there's like trickle down from that, because people are starting to realize when they come to the Amazon store looking for that book, that there are thousands of books like it that they can read. So, yeah, I think I'm not worried about it getting saturated. I think there's enormous potential in it still. And beyond that, none of us have a crystal ball, so I don't really know what exactly is going to happen. But I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing while it's there, and really take advantage of this opportunity and help other people to do the same, because it is really a huge opportunity.
I think so. I mean, as compared to some other things that are kind of beginner friendly, like if you want to do a blog or Google, and Google is very temperamental. Like, at least with books, that people have been reading for hundreds of thousands of years or whatever it is.
Yes.
And people are always going to read books. People are always interested in the romance and the plot lines and things of that nature. So I think that, again, we can't tell what's going to happen in 2 years, but I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to keep putting out books and keep trying to refine it, and keep rolling with it. So
yes, for sure. I think it's still growing. Like, there's still growth to be made here for sure.
I don't think your average Joe knows the Kindle store. Like, I think millions of people obviously do, but like if you polled 100 people, they'd be like, I don't buy Kindle books, but I think they will eventually.
Yeah, for sure.
They have no choice, because Borders and all these bookstores are probably going to go out of business. So
yeah, I guess so.
because they are. A lot of them, at least in the States, a lot of the physical big bookstores are just not rolling anymore. So
they're going to go the way of the video rental stores.
DVDs, yeah. So So let's see here. Are there a certain number of books you'll publish in a certain fetish before moving on to another fetish?
Yeah. I guess we can replace the word fetish with sub niche.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a better word. I'm just
for
reading it.
sure.
I'm not smart enough to make it up on the fly. So
no worries. So I keep publishing. If the market is telling me that something is successful and people want to read it, I will keep publishing that kind of book over and over and over again until the market tells me it doesn't want it anymore. So there isn't a specific number of stories. I just keep going in the direction where I'm guided by the market.
That's a good answer. Is there any good tips you have for covers that might convert better, or just?
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the things I find when I have new clients and they already have some romance books, and they're like, I don't know why they're not selling. I ask them to send me links, and oftentimes immediately I can see that their cover is not going to convert well. It's not going to sell well. And so what I would recommend is looking again at the bestsellers, look what their covers look like, and remember who your audience is. If your audience is women, which most romance is, unless it's gay romance. If your audience is women, they want to see a man on the cover, and most likely a shirtless guy, and oftentimes with no face and just a torso.
Really?
So,
Okay.
yeah, check out the bestsellers. So yeah, keep your audience in mind. Think about what your audience wants, and take it from there.
No face. That's interesting. There's some psychological stuff going
So
on there.
demeaning.
Maybe they want to put the ideal face of the man they really like on the guy's body.
Maybe. That's a good point. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, that's a whole nother podcast. So what about CreateSpace, Karla? Are you doing anything with these on CreateSpace, or are you?
No.
No?
I'm not. And I was considering possibly doing it, and then people that I've talked to that have been publishing in romance for a while and doing similar books to what I do and going to CreateSpace, they really don't see that many sales. That's not to say that it is impossible, but I think I'd rather put my efforts into, at this point, maybe developing my back-end strategy more with my books, because I focus so much on the front-end strategy and I've really kind of got that dialed. But now I personally need to learn more about the back end to help my sales that way. And CreateSpace, potentially, I will go into CreateSpace, but it's not something I'm going to do immediately. And probably a lot of people think that's crazy, but I also think that I don't know how many people want some of the books that I publish to be just laying out on their coffee table.
I am the same boat. I'm the reason I believe that the romance industry has been revitalized is because they can read in anonymity, whatever how you pronounce that, on their Kindle device or
Yeah, it's discreet.
yeah.
Yeah. They can be on their phone, they could be have a Kindle. No one has to know that they're reading some like crazy bear shifter
Right.
whatever book.
Yeah, so I've thrown a few on there, but I think my strategy is going to probably be not to focus on CreateSpace just for time
Yeah.
purposes. And
Yes.
I talked to someone that I was coaching, and I told them the same thing. I was like, focus on Kindle. Like, you can make a
Yeah.
good living just doing Kindle books, and
Totally.
getting bogged down by thinking you have to have everything perfect is going to make it to where you don't get anything done.
For
So,
sure. And that's another thing. I know you asked me about an error or something that people do that can hold them back in the beginning. And I think perfectionism is another thing too.
yeah,
It's having that perfectionist tendency and focusing on, if you get, like I told someone the other day, if you're going to be a perfectionist, focus on being a perfectionist when it comes to keywords,
yeah.
on things that are going to help you be more visible in the store.
It's like I think the most important thing is having your
Yeah.
keywords nailed down, because if
Yeah,
they can't
for
find
sure.
you, no matter how good your, your
Yeah,
content is, right?
exactly. Yeah.
This is a question I think is going to help everybody, and you might be able to shed some light. What about, is there anything Amazon frowns upon about that could get you banned or thrown into the adult section?
Oh yeah, for sure. So there's different levels. There's the level of the adult dungeon, as people call it, and also there's a level of having your book blocked on Kindle. So it's like it is done. There's no way you can do anything to change it. That's it.
Yeah.
So as far as being in the adult dungeon, that means that people cannot find your book if they search for it in the keyword. They can't even find it if they look for it by title. It's like totally invisible in the store. The only way people find it is, I think that if they enter the author name and then the author's books come up, and then it says there's a little kind of field where it says, would you like to see all titles by this author or something like that? And you click on that, and then the adult titles come up. And so if you on the cover, if you show anything that's considered to be too graphic, they can easily throw you in the adult dungeon. And so that happened to one of my books, just because the woman on the cover, it was a side view, and she was covered in everything, but you could see kind of like the side of her breast, and that was enough for Amazon. Whoever saw it on that day, that person was like, oh, okay, adult. So you have to be careful with that. Be careful with your descriptions, that the language you use is not too explicit, because that can get you into the adult dungeon. And as far as getting blocked, I hear of a lot of people getting blocked for having books that are potentially against Amazon's, what are they called? Their content. It violates their content guidelines. And so I was looking over these content guidelines, and one of it said something about, I don't remember what it said, something that if it borders on pornography or something like that. But anyhow, one of the things I know people are kind of getting busted for oftentimes is having, because stepbrother books are really popular right now, so stepbrother romance. And so if in your description it gets too descriptive about what the relationship is between the woman in the story and the man who is her stepbrother, who isn't a blood relative, but it can potentially
It's
cross
getting
the line.
borderline, yeah.
Borderline, yeah. But I mean, stepbrother books are really popular right now. But anyhow, I've heard of more than a few people having their book actually blocked when that happens. So be very careful in your description that you're not being too explicit about the relationship.
Yeah,
Be vague.
yeah, I believe they kind of an incestual type of vibe. If you put that off, they do
Yeah.
not. I've stayed away from that genre just for that reason. I don't even like to even want to have them even ban a book of mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just
for sure. I mean, for that, maybe it is better safe than sorry. But yeah, if you do choose to do that kind of book, be aware that you have to be cautious about what you put in your description and on the cover too.
Yeah, and you kind of covered this, but Chris wants to know kind of like, long term, like, can you be successful doing Christian and Amish and all these other romance niches? Like you were saying, you don't necessarily have to be an erotic romance to be
Oh, no,
successful with
no.
this.
Yeah. No, there's a huge market for those clean romances, the Amish romances,
Yeah.
Christian. You'll notice a lot of the historical romances, a lot of them don't have any explicit content and they're like sweet romances, clean romances, they call them. So, yeah, there's all different kinds of readers out there that want all different kinds of books. And those kind of romances can do really well.
Yeah, and he said that, like, because he's not wanting to do erotica, but I think he wants to invest in your program. So yeah, I would say definitely invest in her program because I mean,
Yes.
like, she teaches more than just doing the erotic niches. There's a lot
Hmm.
of different areas you can go with romance. It's a lot broader than one would think.
Yes, sure.
So you're not doing a ton of email stuff right now, right? Like, you're not doing a ton of email marketing.
No, no, I'm not. I'm starting to learn a little bit more about that, so I'm not an expert at all. I feel like I'm just in the beginning stages of
Yeah.
developing that. Yeah.
I'm developing a list. I'm just trying to figure out what would be the right way to market the list other than the
Yes.
books, you know. But
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if I think that if it's a list built up from fiction books, I don't know if you can market anything to them beyond the books. I don't know. If you come up with anything, let me
yeah, I'm
know.
trying to think. I mean, obviously, like, I don't want to like sell them crazy, explicit, whatever. But I mean, probably just market your own books, your own stuff. That would, and But so I'm beginning my foray into building up a fiction list, which is going pretty well. All I did was put a hey, join my book club. Like, nothing
Yes.
crazy. Like, and
Did
people
you
are
offer an
joining it.
incentive, like a story on opt-in or anything?
I didn't know. It's just like, hey, join this club. It's called I think it's like the Fiction Club or whatever. Just not creative
Yeah.
at all. But
Okay, cool. Yeah.
join it.
That's what I've been doing too. But I do realize now if I have an incentive,
Get more.
I'll give a free story, then I'll get a lot more.
I might have
And then utilize your free promos a lot. Like use your free promo days more.
to push it
Um,
too. Yeah,
yeah, so that people will sign up for your list.
it's important. I think even if you're not utilizing it, just building it and having it there because
Yeah, totally.
can be a huge. You're not doing any audiobooks, right? A lot of people are asking
Not
about that.
yet.
No.
No. And I mean, I've noticed that there aren't many people in this space that are doing audio either, but maybe it's a huge opportunity that hasn't been tapped into yet. So,
I went
um,
down that road. It's pretty interesting to
is it so you've done some
I
audiobooks?
have for fiction to hear a man read one of your novels. It's pretty funny. I'm
Oh
sitting,
no. I
whatever.
think
It don't matter. But like the way ACX work, like audio. Have you done audiobooks at all yet?
I haven't figured that out quite yet. I haven't put the time into it. I'm in Canada too, so there's
Oh,
something
that's right. Yeah,
something different we have to do up here for Canadians doing it. I don't know. So,
difficult. Yeah, I forgot about that. But like basically, the way it works is you upload your transcript, and then people audition on your books. So I figured it'd be a bunch since it's geared towards women and written kind of in a woman's voice. Most women would be auditioning, but it's been mainly men. I've actually sold a handful of them on
oh really? Wow.
because it's really because ACX.com's all an Amazon company. So the reason I like doing the one reason I do like doing Create Space and audio is just because you get that extra kind of real estate on your
Yeah.
sales page where it says like you save $550 or whatever it would be. So I kind of like it, but I'm probably not going to do any Create Space anymore on that level. So do you outline your stories? I think we covered that a lot in the beginning, the first interview. But are you doing a lot of outlining, or are you just kind of letting these guys kind of roll out with it?
I give my writers a lot of creative freedom, so I only give them themes to work with.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just kind of give them a general theme, let them know the points that I want to have in the story, as far as types of characters or types of situations or context, and then I let the writer have creative freedom with it.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, obviously some of the stuff you do and I do and a lot of the guys doing fiction, like we're not experts in shifters or whatever the romance niches that we're doing are, right? So like
Right.
let them handle it and save yourself a lot of the time and going down that rabbit hole. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that handles a lot of questions. Now I
Right.
want to talk a little bit about your coaching
Sure.
thing because we've done a lot. We talked a lot about the books. Is there any specific tips you would give to someone that would want to start a coaching business, or some tips you've learned from teaching people?
Sure. I'd say if you are at all drawn to doing coaching, if it's something that you feel is within you and you want to help people, there's kind of, I know when I was about to jump into that world, there was this kind of like fear and kind of doubt. It's like, oh, well, what do I know? How can I teach people? But if you feel that within you and people are reaching out to you, or you feel you can really help people, just recognize that you're fearful, that it seems like a challenge to you, and take action on it anyhow. And reach out to people that you think you could help. And you'll be surprised. People are so responsive and really appreciative when you can honestly help them with something that they need help with. And another thing that I have realized is that it's through teaching other people that you start to learn so much more. And so I feel like I've become so much more solid on my process and my system, on my goals, from helping other people learn about those things. So it's been really transformative for me and so amazingly fulfilling too. It's being able to serve people in that way and help other people transform their lives financially has been amazing, because I've been, on that side where I was struggling financially and I was always looking to learn from somebody or from some course or whatever. And I took some courses that were great, but I never actually found that like mentor that I think really could have helped to speed up my process. And so now that I've gone through the trial and error to develop this really effective strategy in publishing, when I teach it to people, people are finding success much faster than I did because they have something that's streamlined and that has been proven to be effective. So
Yeah, you can kind of take them by the hand and say, don't make that turn, because if you make that turn, that might cost you a month of beating your head against the wall.
yeah,
So
exactly. But if you are drawn to being a coach and drawn to helping people that way, just start it, do it, take action on it.
yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of scary at first, but it's very rewarding.
It's got to be a passion. I mean, if you want to
Yeah.
be a coach, like there is money to be made at it, but I don't think it's like, unless you're like a Tony Robbins that can charge 100,000 an hour. Like you're not gonna be wealthy off coaching, but you really got to enjoy it. And that's one of the things that when
Yes.
someone asked me, I was like, man, you really got to like working with people and helping them and stuff. So
Hmm.
um, I've grown. I remember when I did my first coaching call, like I was like so nervous. I was like, oh God, like what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna like I just talked for like an hour straight, and the person's like, man, what's this guy doing? But I was like, I'm
Oh
trying
yeah,
to give you as much value as I can because you paid me
for
money.
sure.
And you're doing. Can you kind of outline kind of what a person would get when they join your program, your
Yeah.
coaching program?
Sure. And so the ones I'm doing in July are going to be, they're 4-week programs in total, but the actual instruction time of it is going to be an intensive. So it's right at the beginning of the 4 weeks. So it's 4 days, consecutive days, an hour and a half of instruction each day. And so in those 6 hours, is that six? Yeah, of course, 6 hours of instruction, I lay out my whole process. So what I do with every book, start to finish, how I find great writers, how I do all my niche research, come up with effective titles, descriptions, covers. I actually go through step by step the publishing through KDP. So I'm sharing the screen with you, showing you what I do, sharing my specific keyword strategy I use, which has been really effective. As well, we talk about the importance of categories and being in the right categories. And I talk about how I take what I have already published in the way of individual books and I put them into box sets, how I do that effectively, how I revitalize books that have fallen in the rankings. And I also talk to you about organizing and structuring the tasks in your business so it becomes manageable and it can become kind of like a machine. It can be, you can really kind of streamline your process and leverage your time in the best way so that you can either do it yourself in an effective way, or you can eventually take parts of your business and outsource it so that you're not spending all of your time in the business. And I've done that over the past couple of months, and the Kindle publishing aspect of my business is now down to about 6 hours per week.
Yeah, you don't have to spend a bunch of time once you get it set up and you train the people, and
Yeah.
so truly live that quote unquote 4 hour work week, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly. But I mean, and also frees up my time so I can do coaching.
yeah,
It's really good.
that's cool. It sounds like you've got a
Yeah,
really good system, and it's going to
for
give people
sure.
a ton of value, and it's constantly being refined and improved and everything. So
Yeah.
I'm
I'll just
excited to hear the results.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I'll just clarify that. So the instruction is over 4 days, but then there's 4 weeks, and during that 4 weeks, you're part of a small group, private Facebook group, where I'm sharing all the resources you need, templates, where you can talk to the other people in the group. You can post questions, and I'll answer them. And also during that 4 weeks, I'm available through email support, so you can send me up to an email per day with questions, and I'll help you. So I really want to support everyone in finding success with what I'm teaching them. And then beyond that 4 weeks, the Facebook group is there to stay. So you're connected with these people. If you have a question, 3 weeks down the line, you can post it there. I can answer it. So that's a good way. You're still keeping in touch with me and the other people in your group.
Yeah, I think it's just a good way for anybody who is struggling. Maybe you've done Kindle, or like you might have had some bad breaks or whatever you want to call it, and just like
Yeah.
kind of just start from scratch and take whatever you learn and maybe keep some of it, but then listen to what Karla's doing because she's getting a lot of success. So yeah, I'm digging it. I've had a lot of people that I've worked with say they've gone through it and they've got some success, and they're still getting a lot of success on it. So
Cool.
and that's what it's all about. So there's tons of money to be made for all of us, and being able to live the life we want to live is right there. But just got to take that action. So
Exactly.
well, Karla, it's been great. Part two, maybe if the people want it, we'll do a part three sometime down the
Anytime. This is great. Thank you
down the
so
road.
much,
So
Jason.
thanks, Karla. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, talk to you. Bye.
Bye.